My creepy encounter happened in the winter of 2010, though the memory feels as fresh and cold as the night it happened. Lauren and I, both 30-something, were driving back to our city apartment from a weekend trip up north. It was maybe 2 a.m., and we were miles deep into the Huron-Manistee National Forest in Michigan, taking a shortcut that Lauren swore shaved an hour off the drive. The road, M37, was a ribbon of black asphalt, flanked by towering, bare oaks and pines, dusted with snow. The air outside must have been near zero. Inside the car, it was warm, thick with the smell of stale coffee and road trip snacks. Lauren, determined and quiet at the wheel of her beat-up Ford Escape, kept her eyes fixed on the tunnel of light cast by the high beams. I was half asleep, scrolling through my phone, but the signal had died an hour ago, leaving the car silent save for the engine and the faint hiss of the heater. "How much longer on this stretch?" I murmured, shifting in my seat. "Almost out of the heavy woods, maybe 20 minutes, Lauren replied, her voice taut. She didn't look at me. "Something feels wrong, Ash. Too quiet." I scoffed reflexively, trying to lighten the mood. "It's 2 a.m. in the middle of nowhere, babe. That's how quiet works." But then I saw it too. A shadow, moving with impossible speed and deliberate rhythm, keeping pace with us just beyond the reach of the headlights, among the skeletal tree trunks. It wasn't a deer. It was too tall, too upright, and its movement was a heavy, fluid stride, not a scamper. My breath hitched. "Lauren, look." She didn't need to. Her knuckles were already white on the steering wheel. We were doing maybe 65 miles per hour, and whatever it was running next to us, tracking us through the trees like a dark, massive wolf on 2 legs. It didn't look like a bear or a person. It was too slender for a bear and far too massive for a human. It was covered in dark, matted fur like soaked charcoal, and its head, when it angled it slightly, was decidedly canine. A snout, large and blunt, but with a horrifying intelligence in the way it observed the car. "Speed up!" I yelled, suddenly wide awake, my heart slamming against my ribs. Lauren stomped the gas pedal. The old SUV groaned, straining to hit 75 miles per hour. The creature, however, didn't even seem to struggle. It just elongated its stride, keeping the terrifying parallel. The only sound in the car now was our ragged breathing and the engine's frantic whine. Then, the pavement took a slight, sharp curve to the left, and the creature used the opportunity. It burst from the tree line. It wasn't just tall, it was gargantuan, easily 8 feet, maybe more. Its body was thick, muscled, and disproportionately long in the torso. Its legs bent backward like a dog's, but it was standing fully upright. In the brief, sickening flash of the headlights, I saw its eyes. They weren't reflecting orbs like a deer's. They were deep-set, glowing a terrifying, malevolent yellow-red that seemed to absorb the light rather than bounce it back. It let out a noise that stripped the sanity from the air. It was a guttural half-howl, half-roar, not just loud, but vibrating, an acoustic assault that felt like it was tearing apart the metallic structure of the car. It was the sound of a predator that knew it was superior, a noise that spoke of ancient, unchallenged malice. It slammed one massive, clawed hand, I saw the dark, sharp talons, onto the back left quarter panel of the Ford. The entire car lurched violently to the side, throwing Lauren hard against the driver's side door and rattling my head against the window. The sound of the impact was a sickening thud, followed by a screech of metal giving way. Lauren screamed, a high, raw sound of pure terror, and corrected the wheel just before we fishtailed into the ditch. She didn't look in the rearview mirror, she just floored it, ignoring the speedometer as the car surged past 80. I twisted around, my shoulder throbbing. The creature was standing still at the roadside, an immovable shadow in the distance, momentarily confused by our sudden erratic escape. It didn't chase us further. It simply stood there, a terrible, vertical presence, watching us flee. We drove for what felt like an eternity, headlights blazing, engines screaming, neither of us speaking until we hit the first set of civilization, a gas station and a blinking neon sign. Lauren pulled off the road and slammed the transmission into park, her hands still clutching the steering wheel in a death grip. Her entire body was shaking. "What was that?" she whispered, the question thin and pathetic. I don't know," I managed, my voice hoarse. I finally forced myself to look at the car. We both got out, numb and shaking, into the freezing air. The damage was undeniable. Across the back left panel, running down into the bumper, were 4 deep, parallel gouges. They weren't scrapes. They were gashes, pressed so hard they had gone through the paint, primer, and into the bare metal, bending the frame slightly inward. The spacing was too wide for any known animal track and far too deep to be accidental road debris. It looked exactly like 4 massive, powerful claws had tried to hook themselves into the vehicle. We didn't talk about it again that night, or for many months. We just filed an insurance claim saying we hit a deer on the rural road and hoped no one asked too many questions. We knew, deep in our bones, what we had seen. The Dogman, a horror from folklore, brought roaring and screaming into the cold, stark reality of a late winter night on M37. Even now, whenever I hear a sound like a branch snapping in the dark, I see those glowing, hateful, yellow-red eyes, and I remember the metallic tang of fear in my mouth. That night redefined the boundary between myth and reality for me, pushing the world into a shape far more terrifying than I had ever believed possible.